Hey you all, this is Jenny Townsend, licensed clinical social worker and therapist. I decided to give my YouTube channel another go round, and I decided that I would like to focus on helping you guys learn how to journal and giving you journal prompts, but not like any old journal prompt, but journal prompts that address certain feelings. And we're gonna explore through these journal prompts about like what we're feeling emotionally, what we're feeling in our body, how we are starting to think about that, and where we would like to be, kind of EMDR based a little bit. So today I was thinking about grief, because that's always has come up in my practice a lot, about grief. And grief being like the most intense feeling that we can have in our lives. So grief shows up in so many aspects of our lives. It shows up in change, it shows up in death, it shows up in transitions, it shows up in like day-to-day functioning. It shows up in our health, everywhere, because grief is an ending of something, and it is an ending of something that will never be again. So if you think through all those things, those are things like aging, those are things like I had COVID and now my body doesn't function like it did before I had COVID. I lost a loved one, and now my life is missing that loved one, and I can never, get back that same relationship with them again, because they are passed on. And I say it that way because that I can never have that relationship with them again like that, because I do a technique called induced after death communication, and it is a technique based on EMDR where you can lessen your sadness and potentially have a communication with somebody that's passed on. So I know that while that person may not be here physically, they may still be with us energetically, inside us, whatever it is. So that's why I say it that way. If you want a video on induced after death communication, I will definitely be happy to talk about that, because it is such a beautiful technique. Anywho, I tell my clients all the time that I experienced grief when my kids were growing up, and I had to switch them from one size clothes to the next as they got older, because that is something that I'm losing. I'm losing them being that age and all the developmental milestones that happen in that age back then, and looking at their little clothes and thinking, oh my gosh, I remember when they wore that at whatever event, or when they took their first steps or whatever. So that brings up grief. Grief happens if you move from one house to another. Sometimes you're grieving all of the events that happened in that house, and all of the people that maybe lived in that house that aren't going to live in the new one, or are older, like your kids. So it can happen when you graduate school in a different grade. It can happen when you are taking a vacation and you come home from the vacation and you have grief about that vacation being over, because you can't get that back again. The coolest thing about vacations, by the way, is that you have the memories of them forever. Hopefully you've documented them, taken pictures, whatever. So you get my drift about grief. It is a feeling uncomfortable place to be, that something is over and you can't make it happen again or make it better. So I was going to give you guys a journal prompt today, and walk through that. So the journal prompt is, what am I letting go of today? And you can also say to yourself, what am I thinking about letting go of, or what am I preparing to let go of today? Because you may not be completely ready to make a decision to let something go. I'll give you an example. So in my business, I started my own private practice in 2013. And at that time, I took like most insurances. I took any client that reached out to me. If it worked out that it was something that they wanted to do, I saw them, right? And I'm trying to transition from that to, I am mostly self-pay. I take like one insurance now. I'm trying to transition from that to mostly self-pay, one insurance, and then kind of whittling down the people that I feel like I work best with, that I have the skill to work best with. And while reflecting on that, and reflecting on like, what do I need to do to like help myself too, to be more sustainable, like financially and all that, I have to let some things go. And that's really, really hard because as a therapist, as a social worker, I want to help everybody. Okay. And the thing is I just can't help everybody. And the most important person to help is me, so that I can remain healthy enough. I can remain with enough energy to help my clients. And so it just feels better to think about like, okay, things have to transition now. So when I was thinking about that, and if I think about it about like, what am I letting go of today? Or what am I preparing to let go of? Or what am I ready or not ready to let go of? I have like a really specific body response to that. And so the body response I have to that is like a punch in the stomach, right? So I sat with that over and over and over again, just to kind of be curious and to be real. I really don't have an answer to what that exactly means. I still need to work on it, but I'm assuming it means that it's going to be a blow to me to say, hey, I'm transitioning in this way. And I have already done that too. A few years ago, I dropped insurance, like a major insurance panel. And some people left because they couldn't pay self-pay. They didn't want to pay self-pay. They wanted to use that particular insurance. Fine, I totally understand that. So I have made that shift. It was really hard. I agonized over it for a really long time. Like, is this the right decision? Should I do that? Should I not do that? Whatever. And it turned out okay. And I'm hoping that most of those people that wanted to use their insurance found another provider that fit them and took their insurance. So I've done this before, so I kind of have that information in the background that I can think about, that I can feel about. Hey, I've done this before. It was hard before, but I did do that transition, and now here I am, still doing okay. I still have clients. And so now what I'm thinking about making another transition, it does bring that punch in the gut feeling. And when I think about it, the emotions around it are sadness. And that might seem silly to some people because it's a business decision. And so you think, well, maybe there isn't like so much, there shouldn't be so much emotional response to that, but there is. So what do I need to do about that? Well, like I said, I need to keep processing it. What does it mean? How does it feel? Is that feeling still there? The punch in the gut feeling. How do I help that feeling? Is there a deeper meaning to it? Are there experiences in the past that make me feel like I, let go of something and I felt bad about it, or I had some, like hesitancy about how it would affect other people? Because I think that's what it boils down to, is I never want to hurt anybody. Almost to the point sometimes where I hurt myself before I will hurt somebody else. And that's another thing that I want to transition out of, is hurting myself, to help others. because that's really not fair to me. It's really not fair to my family. It's really not fair to my clients or anyone else, my friends, anybody that I interact with, because that is diminishing my ability to show up in a really honest, authentic way. So it has hurt my ability to do self-care for myself, and it has hurt my ability to be like really present sometimes. So back to the idea about grief. So there's a grieving process here. I'm transitioning from this therapist that took a lot of insurances. Still, I feel like my caseload has really honed itself to people who I really, really mesh well with. So if you're one of my clients who's watching this, don't worry. That transition I made a while ago really opened the door for, a lot of people that I jive really well with. So, and it's okay. Like, that is another thing too. If you're in therapy and you don't really jive with your therapist, find another one. And that's okay. We're all different people. We all have different therapy styles. So you'll find somebody that you fit with, and it's not personal at all. It's just the way relationships work, right? So what am I letting go of today? Or what am I preparing to let go of today? I'm trying to let go of this feeling of responsibility. And it brings up a lot of grief for me. I feel it in my stomach. Like a punch in the gut. What is that about? I'm not sure. But I'm going to keep exploring by feeling that feeling and asking what it needs. What do I mean by asking what it needs? That means just sitting with that feeling. So like if I'm sitting with a feeling, a punch in the gut, I'm just going to ask, like, hey, what would be supportive right now? Feels like a deep breath is really supportive. And then it occurs to me that, like, I probably need to talk about this with a therapist, with my husband, with friends, with other colleagues who maybe have gone through the same thing. So anyway, that's just like a really short little exercise in understanding grief, understanding what questions to ask when you are journaling. And I always find it helpful to locate the feeling in my body. So in next videos, I think I'll talk about, I would like to give you all more journaling prompts, and then I'll talk about like noticing those feelings in your body. So I hope this has helped. I hope you get out your journal and ask yourself, what am I letting go of today? Or what am I, attempting to let go of today? What do I, how can I support myself in letting go of anything today? And where do I feel grief that makes that letting go really difficult to do? Take care of yourself.